In this lesson, we're going to learn how to open the project that we saved last time. We're going to connect to the SQL server and to the U4 Sports main database that we created in the last video series. We are then going to create a connection to that database so we can use them tables inside Visual Studio Forms. Okay, to start, we can see our project we started last time, so we click onto that. And I don't want to get into this too much at the moment, but you can notice this is the actual interface of Visual Studio. Here is a Solution Explorer which shows all of your project resources. Here the properties window of the selected object, but we'll get into that later. Now what we need at the moment to create a connection to the SQL Server database, we need to make sure Server Explorer is here. Now if it's not, you can go into View and click onto Server Explorer. Okay, so when you got Server Explorer opened, data connections will be there. If we right click and add connection onto there, now we need to make sure that the right option is selected here. We're looking for Microsoft SQL Server. However, we could, if we wanted to at this stage, connect to an Access database, an ODBC data source, an actual SQL database file, or an Oracle database. Oracle is an alternative to Microsoft Access in database creation. It's a very, very popular database company indeed. Okay, here is the data provider. We're going to keep as SQL Server, but if you was using an Access database, you would need to select this data provider, OliDB. Okay, then we go to OK. Now in the server name, what this does, it actually picks up the registered servers on your system. Now this will be different depending on which system you're on. So with the college network, it could be different server, but you will be given details of these server details before you go into here. Now the two servers I've got at home are these two. I'm going to connect to Michael Studios PC. Now I'm then going to connect to the database that's on my server. So it's the server first, then the database name. My database name is the U4 Sports main we created last time. Click onto OK. Now just to test the connection to make sure everything is connected correctly, go into Test Connection, then this should come up. If this does not come up, there's a problem with the connection and we can sort that out as and when it arrives. So click onto OK. Then we go onto OK. Now you can see the connection is here, and if we click on this connection, you'll see the tables, and they're the tables we created earlier. Okay. Now if you want to see the information inside the tables, it's right click. We then go to Show Table Data, and you will see very soon all the data will come in that we've actually used. I remember what we did, 40 records last time. They're all there in that table. Okay, we'll close that down just for now. Now, the next thing we need to look at, once we created the tables and imported or connected to the database, is go to data sources. Now, this data source is what we will use inside this project. If we click on data sources, now again, if you don't see this tab, go to View, Other Windows, and Data Sources. Okay, and then we'll see this tab. So go to Data Sources. Now we need to add new data source. We need to go to Database. A data set is going to be created for us from the database from there. Then you can see U4 Sports main has already been on, because that's our connection string. Now this is very important indeed. We need to make sure that we connection string. Now this connection string is what we may be using in our program code later. So what I normally do, I will select it. I will then go on to a notepad file, paste it into there, and I will then save that inside the project folder. So if because we're going to need this later, so if I go to File, Save As, again, same thing from last time, I've got my VB projects there, and then I've got these files I want here. I'm just going to save it in the root directory for now. So it's, I'm just going to call it com.str. Then we can go to that. Now, anytime you need to know that in the future, and you will need to know this when you're using certain aspects of database programming, that's where your connection string will be. So we'll leave that for now. Okay, go to next. The connection string can be saved as well inside the project from Visual Studio. But now we need to make certain we're looking at what we're going to include in our objects. We want all the tables. There's no views in there. We want store procedures, because the store procedures I'll show you a little bit later on. We did create store procedures last time, but there are some things in there. And I'm going to make sure I click onto views first so you can see inside there. There's these store procedures in the tables. It selected all the tables in the database which we need. Then we can click on to finish. And then that will compile all the data sources for us. Okay, and then if we go to that, we go to right click, preview data. It's the same thing as what we did last time, exactly the same details as there. As a recap, we first of all created or opened the project that we started last time. We created a connection to or via Server Explorer to the SQL Server database, and we selected the correct database from there, which was the U4 Sports main. We then go into data sources and create that connection from the U4 Sports main so we can use these tables and objects in the future when we're creating our forms.